Sometimes in life, you just hear a story and you want to know more. Bo had an interesting plumbing experience over the weekend where a 23-year-old plumber came to his house and realized that he just plunked down $300K cash to buy a piece of real estate. I got to hear about this. I don't know many 23-year-olds with 300 grand. Frankly, I don't know many 20-year-old plumbers. So let's talk about this. And I think this is the answer for a lot of people. Screw college. Go to the trades. What do you got?
So this gentleman came over. I didn't know he was 23, very mature. And I have a plumber that I usually work with, but he's really good, but he's really expensive. So I was like, look, my kitchen sink is backed up. There's grease in the line. I need to get it augered or whatever it's called. And so I found this company online and I requested service, and the gentleman came in. And we got to talking. I sat down at the kitchen table as he's working on the kitchen, and we started talking. And somehow we got on the subject that he had just bought. He had moved here from California for work to take this position, and then we got on the topic of buying real estate. And he told me he just bought a townhouse in this kind of up and coming market in Idaho. And so, of course, real estate and business and service based. My ears were perked up.
Yeah, this is your love language,
right? And so I'm talking to him, and he's like, "Yeah." And I don't know how we got on the subject, but he's like, "Yeah, I paid cash." I go, "What? You paid cash? How much was it? 300 grand? You're 23?" I said, "Wow, you're ahead of the game."
Dude, I didn't have 300 grand at 23. I might have had 3 grand.
yeah. I'd be lucky if I had 3 grand then, right? And so, actually, I did, but so I was like, okay, well, first of all, I don't know many, 40 and 50-year-olds that have 300,000 like lying around in an account. Barely, a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. Even people making 100, 200, 300 grand a year.
Yeah.
And so I said, tell me about it. How did you do it? He said, at 14, I started working. I stayed at my parents' house until I was like 22, and I lived below my means. When my friends were going out and buying $130 Nike shirts, I would go to Ross and buy that same shirt for $20. I hate spending money. He said, I work so hard for my money. I wanted to, grow and make something for me. So then, of course, I'm adding some wisdom. I'm like, okay, well, why'd you pay cash? I'm like, maybe you should lever that up at least 50 or 60%.
Sure.
And conservatively, because you can then use that money elsewhere. And I said, I understand. He's like, well, I just want a safety net if anything goes. But I was
Dave Ramsey got a hold of that man. Ramsey got him.
I was so impressed with him. And then we started talking about SBA financing, business ownership. We talked about cost segregation and how he might potentially be able to utilize 100% bonus depreciation if he utilizes he said he was going to run the townhouse as a short-term rental.
Oh, okay.
So then he can, because that's an active business, and I'm not a CPA, but check the rules, that he might be able to offset some of his W-2 income, because this year he's going to do fairly well in his plumbing job.
For sure.
Then I started talking about, hey, wouldn't it be nice for you to be the owner? We kind of broke down the plumbing company he works for. They have expanded. It just sold to private equity for $10 million. The company he works for. That's what's happening. Private equity, just like in real estate, guys. When these equity companies come in and they smell blood, they smell money, they try to get the little guys out. And we have to be strong, and we have to follow through, or we're not going to be able to take advantage of these opportunities. It's happening in real estate, although real estate's very fragmented. But I think the key takeaway is doing what you love to do. He likes to work with his hands. And I did tell him, I said, look, in order to grow a huge business, you're not going to be a guy in the truck. You could still do it on a one-off occasion.
Yeah.
But even if he ran a plumbing company and had a couple technicians working for him and understand the principle of leverage, he's going to go a lot further. He still doesn't understand leverage to the fullest, but what he was able to do
he's 23.
You're right.
He's 23. My goodness.
Right. The time he's 40, he's going to be way ahead of the game. He's going to be way.
Yeah. I got to tell you that when you talked about that $300K purchase, I initially assumed it was his primary. The fact that it's a short-term rental, I completely agree with you. Even if you want to be super conservative, you got to lever that up to 50%. You just have to, right? If not 60.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you. If it's your primary and you just have this itch to not want to, I get it. But if it's a investment property, I got to tell you, you got to have some leverage.
I like the fact, like right now, a lot of us are sitting on a lot of equity in our homes. I like the fact of taking I'm not going to change out 3% money. I'm going to go and put a HELOC on. But I think if I took the 150, 200, whatever equity I would want to take out of my house and use that, because it's essentially debt equity in my mind. Like I'd rather make 100 or 200,000 work for me. That's another property right there. So that's kind of crossing my mind. But I just look at how do we educate the youth to be more like Jonathan, this hardworking guy, super nice.
Let's talk about it. So I wasn't there, but this is what I took away from this conversation so far. First and foremost, Jonathan's not afraid of work, right? He started working at 14, clearly willing to get his hands dirty. Kudos to you. Second is he said, F college. I'm not going to college. I'm going in the trades. And, now he's probably, he's obviously a licensed, I don't know what it's called, an apprentice or licensed plumber, whatever it is. That's only going to add in value as the years go by. So again, you talk about 23, that's, there's a lot of 23-year-olds that'll just graduate college. They're going to come out of college with $200,000 in debt and be lucky if they can live at home, because now they got this huge debt around their neck, into a job market that, has a threat of AI crushing white collar. Instead, Jonathan's just like, nope, graduate high school, get my degree, keep working, go plumber, get part of a company, move from California to, Vegas. And he's doing big things. He's not 5 years ahead, Bo. He's probably a decade ahead, maybe even 15 years ahead of that college grad who's got $200K in debt and no job.
Yeah, I look at it, and if I could go back, I would definitely own some sort of trade business, even if it was a dumpster business. I would have done things so much different. So, like if you're watching this right now and you have children, or perhaps you're in your 20s watching this right now, guys, find a business. If you have to work as an apprentice under a mentorship program, do that. Get those skills. Even if ultimately you don't want to work with your hands, but learning those skills, then you can coach people and become the boss, the owner of this company. Like I'm not going to pick up a paintbrush, but would I own a painting company? Yes, of course. So I think that was a message. And then really, once he gets I gave him a copy of my book saying, okay, let's get you into a business next. And then I said, there's one other book I recommend, which was One Run All the Time. I'm not blowing smoke up your, rear end right now. This is true fact. I said, look, if you just bought one extra rental every year for the next 10 years, you're going to be 33 years old with, 12 doors or whatever, 13 doors by then. Some of them are going to have a bunch of equity. You're going to be paying down the principal. The time you're 40, you're going to be done. You're going to be,
even by 30. I mean, think about this. If he followed the model that you laid out for him, by the age he's 30, he's going to have 5 or 6 rentals. He's going to be the owner of a business, likely producing 7 figures, likely have tax in places where he keeps more of his cash. And the guy's already lapping the field at 23, but he could be done by 30.
Yeah. And he doesn't realize it yet. He knows he's done well, and he looks around at his peers and he's like, yeah, I'm in a way different situation. And he reminded me of you a little bit, because he was telling me about his fiance. His fiance wants to take a lot of vacations and go on vacation, and he's like, honey, look,
not yet.
Just because we can doesn't mean it's a smart move. Like, why? I don't want to go to Hawaii. I'd rather, if we're going to do so I think he, in his mind, he's compromising. Look, we all have to have fun and enjoy life.
Yes.
But he's willing to delayed gratification. And so I applaud that. I'm like,
absolutely.
I'm actually envious, because he did the things the right way, where when I was in my 20s, I didn't do most of those things that I should have done, which would have put me in a much better position that I would have done. And so that, relating it to you, that's what you did. You were, you were excelled in your W-2 career. You did well financially, but you lived way below your means, and you stacked cash for down payments. Then you learned about OPM and got some private investors and started doing more deals.
Yep.
Always conservatively, never aggressively. And that's why when you said, the other day, hey, I won the financial game, right, at 45. And that's so true. And I'm, hey, I didn't win the financial game at 45. I got a lot of, but the point is, if you're in my boat where you're 2.5 years out of being 50, like even if you're far behind, you need to catch up. So this is a time we got to like double down, because we don't have that same compounding interest effect that's going to happen when you're 23. So you got to really, really get a game plan and really think about taking action. Don't overthink things. Move forward. Don't do stupid stuff like invest. I think the biggest thing I see with people when I used to do a lot of hard money lending, they would do one flip, and all of a sudden they became this flipper, and they would get 5 going at one time, and then they realize, then they get out of the game, right? Just take steps. Do one deal, make it perform, and then do another deal. Then move to 2 deals at one time, but don't do 10 deals going out the gate.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I think about this conversation, this Jonathan, this 23-year-old plumber, is if you are a parent of a high school graduate, or, someone near that age, maybe an aunt, uncle of kids that age, one of the things you might want to do is book a call with Bo, onerentalmeeting.com, and just see if maybe the trades are the right answer. Why sign up for $200K in debt that they may not graduate? They may not have a plan. There is no defined ROI. Maybe the trades are the answer, and there's plenty of businesses out there. Bo, any closing thoughts and where they can find you?
Just the last closing thoughts was, if you're the parent and your kid's in high school, maybe a vending business too. It doesn't mean you have to get
there you go. Yeah.
Because you could take advantage of the write-off, and your son or daughter could be learning the skills of running a business that's not too labor intensive. So that's why I like vending as a gateway business, because some people are like, hey, I don't want to be in the trades, even though it's a great industry. But yeah, that's my kind of takeaway. There are businesses that you can get involved. And so if you're a parent, you're saying, well, I'm like, I don't have much time, and like, I don't have much money. Well, vending might be a great option, because for 10, 12, 13 grand out of pocket, 14 grand out of pocket, we can get you in a business. And if you're so busy, maybe your son or daughter could take over the realms. Because I always said to myself, baby Bo, my son, when he graduates high school, what if he had a $10,000 or $15,000 net revenue type business coming in monthly? And he's like, hey, Dad, like, cool, I could like almost live off this. Well, yeah, but hopefully he's a builder. Even though you could be done at 40, like Jonathan, even though he could be done at 40, that guy's not going to be done at 40. He's going to work till he's 80. He loves it. That's it. He takes pride in craftsmanship, in doing a good job. Like he went, and I could tell he gets paid on upsells as a plumber. And he was like, well, what about that? And I'm like, I know what you're doing, Jonathan. Because percentage of revenue. But anyway, he did a great job. What would have cost me $300, I got done for $47 yesterday.
Nice.
By using his company. And I made a new friend, and hopefully a new contact that I could help provide, financial services and money and SBA loans in the future. So it was a win-win, and I hope he reads my book and enjoys it.
There you go. Bo, again, if somebody in my community wanted to reach out, see what's up, talk about the kids and whatnot, onerentalmeeting.com. You bought a URL just for this community, which I still smile every time I say that. onerentalmeeting.com. Bo, you're amazing. Have a great week.
All right. See you soon.